Feldkamp, and I'm presenting my capstone presentation on my honors mentorship for the year. And I was shadowing an interior designer throughout the year. Her name's Karen Hott. She's based in Buckhead, and so that's what I've been doing this year. And the reason I'm doing interior design is because I've always been on the creative side, and I've always liked problem solving mixed with using colors and being creative. So that's why I've chosen to go towards the interior design pathway. And throughout this mentorship, what I've been doing is I'll go to her apartment and where she works out of, and she'll show me insight on her projects that she's been doing. And I also did a project at the Atlanta Decorative Arts Center. And
cool.
What I did is I went to every showroom in the building, and I got to know about what products they provide, what services they have. So I got a lot of experience from that. And then I've also gotten some hands-on experience by returning samples for her and things like that. And then in the future, next year, I'm going to be going to SCAD Atlanta for interior design. And so that's why this mentorship means a lot to me, because I've gotten a chance to get experience before actually learning it in the classroom. And then for the capstone presentation, we've had an essential question for the year. And so mine was, how can I use interior design to develop sustainable design? And how can I do this around the world? And so I did research. I first figured out what I needed to know. So my original question had been, how can I use interior design to reinvent outdated spaces? But that one felt like too general for me to really get good research in, so that's why I decided to go towards the sustainable design side of things. And at first I didn't really know exactly what sustainable design was. I just knew that it was more about being environmentally conscious. And so I'm all about being sustainable and environmentally conscious, so that's why I decided to go through that. And my mentor Karen actually got her degree in environmental studies when she went to college originally. So for one of our projects that we had to do was do an interview. So I interviewed her to get her insight, since she is versed in environmental studies as well as interior design. So I asked her 10 questions, such as what sparked her interest in sustainability, and what does she do to be conscious about the environment. And she explained how she uses paints that are low VOC, and she always makes sure that she uses products that are sustainable, as well as getting to know what she's using before she actually uses it in her designs. So I just have the interview here. And then what I've discovered throughout this whole research project or process is that sustainability is present in the interior design world. Because at first I hadn't known if people were just blowing it off, or it was on the back burner, or if it was a big deal in the interior design field. So I learned that it is something that people are conscious of, and they're making efforts. Like some showrooms that I visited on their websites, they had information about what they're doing, so the products that they use and their methods of production. So I thought that was interesting to learn about. And then I also learned through our annotated bibliographies, we got a chance to research about our essential question further. So I read an article called Tiny Homes Big Community, which is about the tiny home movement in Australia, and how I always knew that tiny homes are supposed to be like a sustainable, economically friendly housing option. And so I decided to research on that, and it talked about how tiny homes are more sustainable because they give you a chance to have a smaller carbon footprint, and you're not having such a big impact on the world if you have a smaller living environment. So then I also watched the documentary called Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, and that was also talking about how if you reduce the amount of unnecessary items in your living space, you can also make a good impact on the environment as well. then finally I researched about in Hong Kong how people live in wire cages, and which is quite insane. And so I'm interested in that because these are smaller spaces, but they're not being used in the sustainable way. So I got to research about that and figure out that my idea for for Hong Kong would be to have a sustainable option, so like these tall, tiny homes and ideas like that. So that gave me another side of sustainable living and what is not sustainable. And so back to the essential question, what I have learned. That's where I talked about, I got to learn a lot about sustainability through those annotated bibliographies. And I think I can make a difference in the future by learning from these experiences and learning what can be used to be sustainable, such as those low VOC paints or other materials that are more environmentally conscious. And so I think that my awareness at such a young age and such a young state in my career, I think that that'll definitely make an impact on my future as an interior designer. And then finally we had a vlog throughout the year where we answered different assignments. So we talked about LinkedIn, we talked about basically everything. So we went through a variety of experiences through these assignments that we did this year. So all in all, I think throughout the year, doing my essential question about sustainability really helped me enhance my educational experience towards interior design, and I'm very hopeful for the future.